All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders, and bishops at Great Millstone. I'm your brother, Rabbi Nap, coming out with a lesson, Lord's will. This is edifying to the Lord's elect. This is ABC News. It just came on, but I guess I'm going to let him just explain whatever he said about Maduro and get caught up on what's going on with him, because this is the Monday that he appeared in court
Quarters in New York.
after his arrest. So I want to see what they say about it.
This is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It's great to be back with all of you at home in the new year. We do begin tonight with ousted Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Venezuela's First Lady Celia Flores, both arraigned in federal court here in New York City today. The couple determined to deliver their message as they face the judge 48 hours after their capture by American forces and their extraction to the U.S. Maduro and his wife under heavy guard today.
And Maduro, he's taller than all of you people, man. He could probably beat up like all of y'all. If y'all didn't have guns, he probably would whip all your asses.
Driven from a detention center in Brooklyn to a waiting helicopter flown over the East River to Lower Manhattan and then loaded into an armored vehicle taken to federal court. The couple standing before the judge pleading not guilty to charges of narco-terrorism conspiracy along with cocaine and weapons charges. Maduro referring to himself as the president of Venezuela, his wife calling herself the first lady of the Republic of Venezuela. In fact, Celia Flores' defense attorney saying she was injured in the raid. And as Nicolas Maduro was being taken from court, he called himself a prisoner of war. His defense attorney.
Woo! Hey, that's right. That's right, man. I forgot he said that. I don't know why I'm getting excited, but it's the truth, man. It's the truth, and it's not just him. It's all you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. The whole world is a captive to this devil, man. I gotta grab Job 9:24. Gotta grab it. Job 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Who owns the whole world? Esau, if you didn't know. The wicked, Malachi 1:4. Just gotta throw that out there. Now, where did I just leave it? Salakia.
Questioning the legality of his, quote, military abduction. Our chief investigative correspondent, Eric Katursky,
Yeah,
was
where's
in
the
the
legality at?
courtroom. Aaron leads us off tonight.
A little more than 48 hours ago, Nicolas Maduro ruled a nation with 30 million people and the world's largest oil reserves. Tonight, the deposed Venezuelan dictator is a shackled criminal defendant, whisked from jail in Brooklyn, flown across the East River by helicopter into Lower Manhattan with his wife and co-defendant Celia Flores to face federal drug charges. Escorted under heavy guard to an armored vehicle for the short ride to federal court, where canine dogs roamed the hall and U.S. Marshals inspected the courtroom chair where Maduro would sit.
Nicolas Maduro's presence inside Manhattan federal court brought protesters here outside, some denouncing the U.S. military action that captured him, others supporting what President Trump ordered.
Inside, Maduro greeted spectators in the courtroom, saying Buenos dias. He put on headphones for Spanish translation and rose in his seat as the judge asked, "Are you Nicolas Maduro?" "I am the president of the Republic of Venezuela," a defiant Maduro responded. "I am here kidnapped. I was captured at my home in Caracas, Venezuela." The judge cut him off. Maduro's wife declared, "I am the first lady of the Republic of Venezuela," before the judge interrupted her. "The purpose today is just to ask who you are." Prosecutors say Maduro and his wife worked together to traffic cocaine.
What the government is alleging is they literally were handing out passports to drug dealers. They were engaging in murder and kidnapping, using the diplomacy, using the veil of the Venezuelan government to pursue this drug conspiracy.
Esau, you're full of shit. I got your ass, man. That's what Esau's doing. Oh man, you're a funny dude, Esau. That's exactly what he's doing. Using the government. Everything he's blaming him, accusing him of, that's what he's doing. I'm telling you, the wicked man, he's a funny motherfucker. Yeah. So he's using the government so he can export his drugs, man. I don't know why I've always noticed that he basically, that's how he talk. He wouldn't even put it on the news if he wasn't trying to communicate something. Everything that he puts on the news, this could have been private. He didn't have to say anything about. Diddy's case was you didn't hear about certain case, R. Kelly and shit. You couldn't even have cameras in the courtroom. You know, yeah, they did bring people out that were in there and they would talk, but it just goes to show you, like, he controls what's being said in that flow of information. So he can tell you whatever the hell he want to tell you. But at the same time, he don't got he's not the head of CVS and all these different pharmaceutical companies. That's all here in Babylon. Now, it might not be heroin, like, that's more natural. Now you got synthetic drugs. Where are all these synthetic drugs coming from, Esau? You blaming it on China, you blaming it on this, and that. You ain't making any money off of that? The hell out of here.
Asked how he pleaded to the charges, Maduro said, "I am innocent. I am not guilty. I am a decent man. I am still president of my country." Flores then stated her plea, not guilty, completely innocent. Maduro's wife appeared with a bruised and bandaged head. Her lawyer said she may have a fracture or severe bruising on her ribs. Maduro's attorney called the U.S. raid a military abduction and said Maduro is the head of a sovereign state, immune from prosecution. As Maduro was led from the courtroom, someone in the gallery stood and shouted in Spanish, "You will pay in the name of Venezuela." Maduro stopped and turned to face the heckler, saying, "I am the elected president. I am a prisoner of war. I will be free."
Your own people, man. Your own people. You don't trust no Venezuela from America. They damn sure people that are from America end up hating their own country way more than they don't know nothing about the damn country, and they over here talking shit to the president. Like, they're done. They're dead. You can't say nothing to them. They're full of shit. They're gonna die anyways. They're gonna get burnt up, and the same shit's gonna happen to them. They're gonna get locked up. They're about to get persecuted too. We all about to get persecuted, according to Revelation 12:12. So we all gonna feel it. You're gonna have alphabet boys looking for you too if you don't take this device. They're gonna be calling you. You're gonna be a prisoner of war. He's gonna turn this whole country into a police state. And if you don't follow what he's doing, you're gonna be in the same position as Maduro. He can call you, bring up false charges upon you. He can do the same thing. I'm thinking of a precept. Prisoners. Let's put in prisoner. Let's see what pops up. I'm thinking about, nope, that's all. I think I'm thinking about Jeremiah, honestly. It's in the Old Testament. Jeremiah 51, I believe. No. Maybe it's 50. Nope, I can't think of it. Think of it.
So let's get right to Aaron Katersky, who was in the courtroom today. Aaron, as all of this was playing out in that New York City courtroom, Nicolas Maduro's son, also, of course, indicted here, was addressing the National Assembly back in Venezuela, saying, "Dad, you created a strong family, that the nation is in good hands while we await your return." But Aaron, it would appear that is unlikely to happen anytime soon, if at all.
If at all, David, it could be a long time before Maduro even stands trial here. His lawyer said today, David, this is going to be a complicated case, and Maduro is going nowhere. He didn't even ask for bail today and return to jail where he is tonight. It could be March before we see him again. That's when he's next due here in court. David?
Aaron Katersky reporting with me live on the air earlier today as this was playing out. Aaron, thank you. Tonight, our team with new reporting here and new images of the daring U.S. military raid to capture and extract Nicolas Maduro and his wife. President Trump saying several American pilots were wounded, bleeding, but kept flying. And where President Trump says Maduro and his wife were captured, that they didn't have time to close the steel door to their safe room. And tonight, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on what Maduro's wife said as helicopters were closing in. Martha Raddatz and what she's learned tonight.
Tonight, dramatic new video of that dangerous mission to seize Maduro. that injured U.S. helicopter pilots. Explosions lighting up the hillside around Maduro's heavily fortified compound in Caracas as U.S. warplanes blasted Venezuelan air defenses early Saturday morning. U.S. forces knocking out power to parts of the city, allowing them to move in total darkness.
Honestly, someone told on you, man. The more all of it's gonna be revealed, man. I just wanted to see what was going on. But what is that lady's name? Venezuelan. What's the Venezuelan woman's name who got the Nobel Peace Prize? Maria Corina Machado. Let's look her up, man. I think she worked with Duck. Try to get you, because I saw something online. I can't. Let me grab her name. Maria Corina Machado. Thank you. Is she Jewish? No. Maria Corina Machado was raised in a conservative Catholic family in Caracas, Venezuela, with no indication in her background or information of her being Jewish. Her family roots trace to Venezuela. Venezuelan figures like great-great-grandfather Eduardo Blanco. Okay. What is the name of the vice president standing president in Venezuela? Delcy Rodriguez. Copy. Is she Jewish? I'm asking a question. What's this saying? What's this forward? No, Maduro's abduction wasn't a Zionist plot. Who is Tessera Delcy Rodriguez, the acting president? Okay, Delcy Rodriguez is not Jewish. She comes from a Marxist left-wing political background, and her family is known for their socialistic credentials. Okay. I just had to ask. Anyways, the precept I was thinking about is in the book of Zechariah, chapter 9. I believe I just looked it up. Zechariah 9. And 11. It says, as for thee also by the blood of thy covenant, I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit wherein is no water. Turn ye to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. So let's look this up. Zechariah 9. He said he's a prisoner of war. You know, carnally, yes, but spiritually, really a prisoner of hope once you come into this truth. Because we're all actually prisoners of war. You know, we were held captives. We were brought into this country. We're still here. You know, even though you were in Venezuela, you were still a prisoner of war. You don't know the world powers that rule this place, man. You don't know Job 9:24. These powers that are because of the Heavenly Father and His Son. They have these powers. Esau's in power for a reason. Okay, we transgress the laws. We gotta come up out of this mess by returning unto Him, seeking Him 10 times more now that He may be found. So that should change your mindset into believing that you're a prisoner of hope, because you have, you know, this truth has set you free, and you're waiting for these things to be fulfilled. We're waiting on the Lord to fulfill His word, and that's what our hope is in. Zechariah 9 and 11. 12, meaning promises God's deliverance for His people, freeing them from unjust captivity, a waterless pit because of the covenant, calling them to return to their stronghold, Zion, God's presence, with a promise of double restoration, symbolizing hope and a new life through Yahweh Shai HaMashiach redemptive work. Not just literal freedom, but spiritual liberation from sin and despair. And that's what we need. We need new bodies. Zechariah 9 verse 13, when I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as the sword of a mighty man. So this is deliverance for Judah and Ephraim, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, which are going through captivity. You know, we got to deal with the heathen nations ruling over us. We don't have any sovereignty down here, even though you may have been a president of a country. If you're an Israelite, man, you still got to deal with these curses. And part of those curses is having your enemies pretty much do what they just did, get the victory over you. Okay, so we got to get into that mindset. We need to go into the stronghold. Proverbs 18:10 talks about the name of the Lord. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and are safe. So that's where we're running to. We're running to Yahweh V'Hashem Yahweh Shai. And before he got locked up, he was praying to Jesus Christ. He was asking Jesus Christ to save him. And look what Jesus Christ gave him. He gave him fetters of chains. He put some ice on his wrists and his ankles, and he sent him to a foreign land. Okay? But I still find it amazing that he's actually sitting in a courtroom. He actually went to court today. That's a little different on Esau's side. Esau would have just killed you. He would have just put you to death. He did that to Saddam Hussein. He did it to Gaddafi. I'm sure other world leaders. You know, he just put him to death. So the fact that the Lord ain't put you to death, you still get to witness the Lord work. Every day the Lord's working. Okay? And if you alive and you made it to the next day, and the Lord, that's a blessing. The Lord is allowing you to see his work. The next day, you seeing the fall of Babylon. Even though it might not seem like he's falling hard. He's falling hard because what he did, already, without even knowing all the details about it, it's illegal. He bypassed the Constitution. Ain't no one talking about that. I was looking on X. People are talking about it, but people, they don't see how that affects them. When your constitutional rights are being affected because it's happening to you, then you're going to realize why, things ain't as good as you think they are. If he violates his rights, he'll violate yours. And the weird thing I find about all of this is you can take somebody from a far country and bring them into court, but somebody that's born here, they don't get any due process. They just automatically get deported. That's backwards. Let me grab this precept. You're turning things upside down, KJV. Isaiah 29:16. Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? Let's look this up. So Esau turned everything upside down. Everything's backwards. But the Lord clearly is the one who did that because he's the actual potter. Isaiah 29:16 means that people are foolishly reversing their roles with God, acting as if the created clay could question or deny the understanding and creative power of the divine potter, their maker, instead of humbly submitting to his wisdom and design. It's a rebuke against self-sufficiency, human pride, and rejecting God's counsel, emphasizing that God's authority and wisdom are supreme over humanity. But Esau, his turning things upside down, ultimately, it's vanity at the end of the day because you're gonna be destroyed by it. It's like it said, the clay can't tell the potter you don't have any understanding. So that's why he's trying to reverse everything and make pretty much try to make the Lord look like he didn't know what he was doing when he created creation. He did it wrong in his eyes. That's his pride telling him that. But when the Lord corrects his ass, that's when he's going to realize. Just like Antiochus Epiphanes in 2 Maccabees, the 9th chapter. The name Epiphanes means God manifested. When you read that chapter, God, the Most High, manifested that he's just a man. So that's what's gonna be manifested at the end of you coming up against the Lord. Reversing roles, the people of Jerusalem were acting as if they were in control, molding their own destinies rather than submitting to God, and that's what Esau is doing. He think he's doing it, but it's really the Lord putting hell on Israel to use him as a punishing tool. Okay, but he's using him to do it, but with his own pride, he think he has, this power to do it, but it's really the Lord. The potter and clay metaphor. This classic metaphor illustrates God's absolute sovereignty and wisdom as the creator potter over humanity. Clay. Spiritual blindness. The verse addresses those who hide their deeds from God, which is Esau, thinking he doesn't see or understand, showing a profound lack of spiritual insight. And that's what he has. He lacks discernment. He's so smart, carnally, he got, but that's how Edomites are. They're very proud. Oh, I know a cosine of X raised to the exponential of X to the log of X, and they'll break it all down for you. They can solve these huge equations or whatever, but when it comes to certain spiritual things, they lack that. And through the Spirit, the more you key in on this devil, you really get to see his flaws spiritually, and you can really observe just through the Spirit how he's really like, he's insignificant, man. He really is nothing. It reminds me of the movie Jason versus Freddy. When Jason and Freddy were fighting, Freddy got in his head and brought him back to a time when he was just a little boy. And then he brought him out to the water, and he was scared of the water because he drowned it in the water. So he made him bring him back to the point of what he really was. He was this scared little boy. And that's what Esau is, like a crying little boy. And that's Esau. Esau is the one who, on paper he's the beast, but deep inside, he's just a crying boy, man. Because he lost his birthright. And all the day long, he really is envious and wish he could suffer for righteousness' sake. He really covets to be Israel. Okay? Because you can have the whole world, have all the resources, have all the money, but if the Most High ain't with you, that's a void that nobody wants. Nobody wants that void. It's better to have the Lord than to have the whole world. And that's what the Lord is showing his people, that none of that shit matters if it ain't about him. And he's the one that's gonna be made the example to show why it's better to have the Lord. Because ultimately you gain the whole world and then you lose your soul and you die. Humility and submission. True understanding comes from acknowledging God as the maker and trusting his perfect plan, not asserting human independence. And that's what he does. He asserts himself, not trusting in the Lord's perfect plan, but we do. But he looks at that as foolishness because he lacks discernment. Now, where was I? Isaiah 26. Actually, am I finished? What else did I have in this? Zechariah 9:12. Turn you to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare, I will render double unto thee. It makes me think of Job. You go to Job, the 40th chapter. He gave Job everything and some. He got double. So through our afflictions that we receive, Job 42, I should say. I thought it was Job 40. I'm going to read it. Job 42:1. Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that thou canst do everything, and that no thought can be withholden from thee. Who is he that hideth counsel without knowledge? That's Esau. Therefore have I uttered that I understood not, things too wonderful for me, which I knew not. Here I beseech thee, and I will speak. I will demand of thee, and declare thou unto me. I have heard of thee by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye seeth thee. Wherefore I abhor myself, and repent in dust and ashes. Because, when you read the book of Job, Job didn't really understand what was going on. He was going through the process, but him going through that, now we can look back on his sufferings and see the whole picture. The Lord gave you some insight by not just putting Job through that. Job was an example of enduring afflictions for righteousness' sake, and how he was rewarded at the end shows you that the Lord is how can I put it? He didn't do it just in vain. Okay, and he gave you double, and he's in control of he's gonna pay you back. He's gonna pay you back, but he created you to go through it and successfully do it. Okay, he's not putting you into something that you're not gonna. He already gave you the victory, even though he put you through that. Job 42:5. I have heard of thee by the meaning of the ear, but now my eye seeth thee. Wherefore I abhor myself, and repent in dust and ashes. And it was so that after the Lord had spoken these words unto Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, my wrath is kindled against thee and against thy two friends, for ye have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job have. Therefore take unto you now 7 bullocks, 7 rams, and go to my servant Job, and offer up for yourselves a burnt offering. And my servant Job shall pray for you. For him will I accept, lest I deal with you after your folly, and that ye have not spoken of me the thing which is right, like my servant Job. So his friends, he's basically saying that, you didn't give the counsel about why Job was going through what he was going through. Some of them were accusing him. Some of them were saying they basically thought they could think they can tap into the mindset of the Heavenly Father. Now, that's not to say that some of the things that they said is disannulled. Oh, we don't got to listen to that, because the Lord said in Job 42:8 that you were wrong, because you got to have the spirit to get the understanding, because some of the precepts ain't even, they're talking on a higher level that's not even about the situation that Job's prophesying. Okay, and his friends are prophesying too, just like Job the 20th chapter. Zophar the Naamathite. Okay, he was explaining certain things, just the mindset. So he was showing you. He was even talking about Esau. So they were prophesying. It's the book of Job 42:9. So Eliphaz the Temanite and Bildad the Shuhite and Zophar the Naamathites went and did according as the Lord commanded them. The Lord also accepted Job. And the Lord turned the captivity of Job. And this is what's going to happen to us. The Lord's going to turn the captivity of us, the hopeful elect, the elect, I should say. Those were a part of that number. When he prayed for his friends, also the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. So that's that double. Going back to Zechariah 9:12. Turn you to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare, I will render double unto thee. Okay, I might as well finish it while I'm over here. Job 42:10. And the Lord turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Then came there unto him all his brethren and all his sisters, and all they that had been of his acquaintance before, and did eat bread with him in his house, and they bemoaned him and comforted him over all the evil that the Lord had brought upon him. Every man also gave him a piece of money, and every one an earring of gold. So the Lord blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, and 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 she-asses. He had also 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he called the name of the first Jemimah, and the name of the second Keziah, and the name of the third Karen Hapach. And in all the land were no woman found so fair as the daughters of Job, and their father gave them inheritance among their brethren. After this lived Job 140 years, and saw his sons and his sons' sons, even 4 generations. So Job died being old and full of days. So that was all in one lifetime. Now he's going to do this with his elect over generations of lifetimes, but still fulfill his will. But Job 42:12 said he blessed the latter end of Job more than his beginning, for he had 14,000 sheep. When you read Job 101, he didn't have that many. This was all doubled. And 6,000 camels, and 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 she-asses. Go to Job 1:1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His substance also was 7,000 sheep. See, in 42 it said 14,000 sheep. And 3,000 camels, I believe. I forgot how many it said in the other. And 5, I think it was all double. Let me put them side by side. But just to show you that the Lord's righteous. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, and 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 she-asses. So in the beginning, he had 7,000 sheep, and then 3,000 camels, so that went to 6,500 yoke of oxen, that went to 1,000, and 500 she-asses, and that went to 1,000. So he doubled it, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East. So if he was the greatest of all the men of the East before, then what happens when he doubles it? So you got to think about that, man. This work is not in vain. Now, where was I? Zechariah 9, verse 13. When I have bent the Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as the sword of a mighty man. So he's raising up Judah and Ephraim. Because the thing about Judah and Ephraim, they want somebody to rule over them. They don't want to fight for righteousness' sake. They just want something handed to them. They don't want to put in the work. They don't want to, they're scared. They feel like they're ants compared to, all these heathen nations and their capability and all of that. That's because you don't believe. You can walk in power, man, and not have nothing on you. The Lord is giving us the power to speak, to stand up on our feet. It's not a show of anything other than the Lord. All of this glory goes to the Lord. We're just vessels that the Lord's using to bring forth his word. And with that, he shows us every day that he's with you, because you could be destroyed at any time for any reason. But yet, the Lord delivers you day after day after day after day, and you still teaching his word. That's a miracle, especially when you're behind enemy lines. And he's raising up Judah and Ephraim, so they're going to be going through things, but it's all to build them up. He ain't got them with that weak-ass mindset like majority of them are. Like them Venezuelans, happy that their president got taken out. You about to get fucked up. You're rejoicing over the fall of him, over Maduro, and your fall's going to be worse than his. Esau's not coming over there to make you great. He's there to rob you. He's there to spoil you, oppress you. That's it. And throw you to the side and kill you. So a lot of y'all gonna die. So have fun, go rejoice in the streets with your flags and shit, and he's gonna destroy you. Because you're wicked, and that's why the Lord sent them over there. But Maduro might not die. The fact that I'm still surprised he's still alive. How the hell you still alive, man? That's the Lord, and it ain't the so-called white man that did it either. That's Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. Esau ain't got no power over life or death. Zechariah 9 verse 14, and the Lord shall be seen over them, and his arrows shall go forth as the lightning, and the Lord God Yahweh shall blow the trumpet, and shall go with the whirlwinds of the south. What's this talking about? Salakia, I gotta read this. Describes God's powerful visible intervention for his people using imagery of a warrior. He appears with lightning fast arrows, blows the battle trumpet, ram's horn, and advances in overwhelming desert whirlwinds from the south to bring victory and judgment, assuring his people of his presence and ultimate triumph over their enemies and establishment of his kingdom. It signifies divine protection, sovereignty, and the fulfillment of promises, interpreted by early Christians as foreshadowing Yahushua's arrival, rejection, and future glorious return. Okay, Zechariah 9 verse 15, the Lord of hosts shall defend them, and they shall devour and subdue with sling stones. Woo! And they shall drink and make a noise as through wine, and they shall be filled with like bowls, and as the corners of the altar. Oh, I gotta listen to that. Made me think of King David destroying Goliath. Because Judah and Ephraim is just like, fill the bow with Ephraim. So you need that bow and that arrow to come together in order for it to be used properly. And that's what the Lord's doing, according to Amos, the 9th chapter. He's going to be closing up the breaches. And that's what we see. Zechariah 9 and 15. Let me look this up real quick. Prophesies God's people complete victory and overflowing joy through divine protection. And that's what we have. That's what I believe it is. That he got a hedge about his men, just like he had a hedge about Job. As a matter of fact, let's go there. Job 1 verse 4, and his sons went and feasted in their houses, every one his day, and sent and called for their 3 sisters to eat, to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered up burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts. Thus did I, Job, continually. So he was always putting up sacrifices. So Job understood that, how can I put it? Job was putting up sacrifices for his family and things like that. Even though they did get destroyed, his intent was, like we're doing. We hope the Lord have mercy upon our families, which he could, and he might not too. Job 1 and 6, but at the same time, we get delivered. As a matter of fact, I got to jump over here now that I said that. Ezekiel. Where is it? Ezekiel 18. It might be 16. Ezekiel 18. And I thought it was Ezekiel 18. know what? Let's just type in Daniel. And it brings me to Daniel 1. That's not what I'm looking for. Let's type in Job. See, I'm looking for a word and it's, I gotta look it up. Though Daniel transgress, he shall deliver himself. Ezekiel, KJV. Ezekiel 14 and 20. That's exactly what it is. I thought it was 18. Ezekiel 14 and 20. It says, as a matter of fact, I gotta start up. The city will not be spared. I'll start at 12. Ezekiel 14 and 12. The word of the Lord Yahweh came again to me, saying, Son of man, when the land sinneth against me by trespassing grievously, then will I stretch out my hand upon it, and I will break the staff of bread thereof, and will send famine upon it, and will cut off man and beast from it. Though these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it, they should deliver but their own souls by their righteousness, saith the Lord Yahweh. If I cause noisome beasts to pass through the land, and they spoil it, so that it be desolate, that no man may pass through because of the beasts, though these three men were in it, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, they shall deliver neither sons nor daughters. They only shall be delivered, but the land shall be desolate. So pretty much, you can't really save anybody but yourself. All right. So the elect need to really, but the Lord, there's precepts that also said that, just the second chapter goes into talking about pretty much the Lord will be with, let me grab it. I don't want to get too far off because sometimes I'll be in my head sometimes. Second Esdras, chapter 2, but I gotta grab this in verse number 30. Be joyful, O thou mother, with thy children, for I will deliver thee, saith the Lord. Remember thy children that sleep, for I shall bring them out of the sides of the earth and show mercy unto them, for I am merciful, saith the Lord Almighty. Embrace thy children until I come and show mercy unto them, for my wells run over, and my grace shall not fail. So he's going to have grace, he's going to have mercy on children, on women. So, but it all depends on who the Lord is dealing with. And therefore I say unto you, O ye heathen that hear and understand, look for your shepherd. And you heathen talking about you Israelites. Okay, he shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand that shall come in the end of the world. So that's talking about Yahweh Shai. Be ready to the reward of the kingdom, for the everlasting light shall shine upon you forevermore. Flee the shadow of this world, receive the joyfulness of your glory. I testify my Savior openly, and that's what we doing. But pretty much Ezekiel 14 is going into how you can only save yourself. Okay. Did I finish that? Zechariah 9:15, where they devour and trample enemies, sling stones, symbolizing overcoming powerful opposition with God's help, like David and Goliath. And that's what we're doing, man. Ultimately, it's the house of David, man. We slinging stones, man. Leading to exuberant celebration, like a feast filled with wine and consecration, signifying their being filled with God's spirit and blessings. And Yahweh acts as their ultimate shield. It's a picture of ultimate triumph, moving from military success to spiritual fullness and worship. And that's exactly what we're doing. And making noise as through wine. When we're with Yahweh Shai, you're going to be drinking wine with him. making a noise. We're gonna be celebrating Esau's downfall. Even though Maduro was going off, it tells you in Acts 17, in verse number 30, the Lord winked at our ignorance. Acts 17, verse 30, in the times of this ignorance God winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent. So he's still alive, he can still repent. And the Lord loves when you're in that low state. That's the perfect place to be in. It sounds crazy, but when you down low, hey, the Lord can work with you when you down there, man. When you got a very humbled spirit, he likes that. Psalms 34, verse 18, the Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. You know, curious to see what's going to happen to him. I think it's going to go beyond, Esau. Oh yeah, he's no way he's getting out, and like he got complete control over what goes on. We'll see. Brittany, what's her face, got out of jail. She was supposed to do hard bondage in Russia. The Lord let her ass out. Who knows? He might be used as some political. I'm curious to see. There's so many situations I can think of. He can be used as political leverage, especially when he got Russia. I wonder who he's calling for as allies. When you down low, he might have to call Vladimir Putin like, yo, what's good, man? How you been? I need a favor. Yeah, I got bagged, man. I need to get out of this jam. They said that, I didn't even finish the article, but let me look, Psalms 34 and 18. Means God is intimately present and compassionate with those experiencing deep emotional pain, sorrow, or spiritual defeat, offering comfort, healing, and rescue, emphasizing he doesn't ignore suffering, but draws near to the humble and contrite in spirit, providing hope and restoration. It assures people they are not alone in their brokenness, as God's presence brings strength and deliverance from despair. And that's a low state, to be the king of somewhere and to get thrown into a pit. Okay? No king should be, you think one king would respect another king, but it ain't the case when it comes to your enemy. He wants to humiliate you, but ultimately it's the Lord. So, Zechariah 9, verse 16, and the Lord Yahweh, their God, shall save them in that day as the flock of his people, for they shall be as the stones of a crown, lifted up as an ensign upon his land. Ooh, what's this? Let's look this up. Zechariah 9, 16, meaning. Zechariah 9, verse 16, meaning God will save his people, which are the Israelites, the nation of Israel, like it says, and make them shine like precious jewels in a crown over his land, signifying their restoration, beauty, invisible glory under the Messiah's reign, a promise of divine care, exaltation, and his covenant faithfulness. So, and he's an Israelite too. So the promises apply to him too. And all of our wickedness is as filthy rags. So we all prisoners of war. When he said that, it just made me think, like, I don't know. It made me really realize that we're a nation of kings and priests, and we're all in this captivity together. It contrasts the earlier military imagery with peaceful royal glory, showing God's people as trophies of his grace, a banner for the world to see his goodness in a cherished flock. So he's messing with his flock. Let me grab this in the book of, I forgot. The flock of my pasture are men. No. The flock of my pasture are men. KJV. Ezekiel 34 and 31. Let me grab this. It says, and ye, my flock, the flock of my pasture, are men, and I am your God, saith the Lord Yahweh. Let's look this up. Ezekiel 34 and 31 signifies God's ultimate promise to his people. You are my flock, the sheep of my pasture. You are men, and I am your God, says the Lord Yahweh. It means God reaffirms his covenant relationship with Israel, contrasting corrupt earthly leaders, shepherds, with himself as the true loving shepherd who personally cares for, restores, and provides for his vulnerable people, establishing a profound bond where they belong to him as his own flock. This verse highlights their identity, God's active care, and foreshadows the coming of the Messiah, the one shepherd, my servant David, who fulfills this role. Right. Anyways, let me finish this up. So ultimately, that's talking about King David. You know, this, I don't know why Christians think when it's, I forgot what precept they think that when it says King David, that it's talking about Yahweh Shai. Because yes, Yahweh Shai is ultimately the shepherd, but David's still a king too. Hence him closing up the breaches of the house of David. But Yahweh Shai is going to be over the house of David, but King David is still going to be at the top too, underneath Yahweh Shai. And then the disciples is going to be order. Zechariah 9 verse 17, for how great is his goodness and how great is his beauty. Corn shall make the young men cheerful and new wine the maids. I gotta look this up. Now corn is something that we, that's part of our blessing. Isaac told Esau he's given Jacob plenty of corn and wine. And that's going into this word. Zechariah 9 verse 17 describes future blessing and restoration for God's people, emphasizing immense prosperity, plentiful grain, and new wine, making young men and women cheerful. And divine beauty, often interpreted as God's goodness, making the people beautiful like jewels in a crown, symbolizing security, joy, and thriving life after deliverance from oppressors, foreshadowing ultimate messianic peace and blessing. But we're not going to have that on this side. We got to suffer. It also makes me think of Malachi, the 3rd chapter, since he's talking about this crown of jewels on his head. In the land, it said, Malachi 3 verse 16, then they that fear the Lord Yahweh spake often one to another, and the Lord Yahweh hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared the Lord Yahweh and that thought upon his name. So ultimately this is talking about the elect speaking often one to another through, whether you go to camp or you make digital epistles. Ultimately, it's through the internet. And the Lord sees that work. And he knows who is who through the Spirit. Who's his elect and who's not. Who's going to endure and who's not. But the most important part, they feared the Lord Yahweh and thought upon his name. So there's a group of people, there's men down here who are always, they saying the right name. Okay? And they shall be mine, saith the Lord of hosts, in the day when I make up my jewels, and I will spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him. Then shall ye return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth him not. And we're starting to discern that the closer and closer we move forward. because the more time, that it seems like it's getting harder, especially if, I can't imagine how long brothers been doing this work, but, a lot of people done dropped the plow. People be getting offended. People be all types of things, man. You gotta make your own call on an election sure by. You gotta be diligent, man. Okay, you wanna constantly be examining yourself. But that's what the Lord's doing. His jewels are ultimately his elect. What he's doing is he's bringing them through the furnace of affliction, and he's making them pure. He's making them shine. Okay, and that's where he's getting his glory from. You see Jake put on his jewels, he's shining. Well, that's how the Lord shines through his elect. The stronger and stronger they get, man, the more he's blinging. All right. Anyways, let me finish this article. Or was it? Let's see what else.
A dozen U.S. Special Operations helicopters flying just 100 feet above the ground, moving in over the compound, firing miniguns and rockets at multiple targets.
Ooh, that makes me think of the book of Habakkuk, first chapter. Okay. Habakkuk 1:1, the burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see, Chaldeans used to punish Judah. In this case, it be Ephraim, because Asher's the northern kingdom. O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear, even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save? Why doest thou show me iniquity, and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that raise up strife and contention. That's Esau, raising up strife and contention. Okay, Habakkuk seeing iniquity. Iniquity is sin. We're seeing iniquity too. Iniquity is sin. So if you're seeing murder, you're seeing robbery, that's for spoiling and violence. He just invaded a foreign land. Habakkuk 1:4, therefore the law is slack, and judgment doth not never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. So the law is slack, meaning the law's not being implemented, and judgment doth never go forth. So nothing's happening to Esau when he breaks these laws. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. The wicked is the Edomites, the righteous are the Israelites. He compassed them about. Therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. So it continues to happen because he's not being judged. Habakkuk 1:5, behold, ye among the heathen, where among the heathen the Israelites, and regard and wonder marvelously. For I will work a work in your days which ye will not believe, though it be told you. And we know the work that he's working. He's going to bring forth the judgment that Esau lacks. And with that judgment, he's going to be glorified, and he's going to save his elect with a miraculous, with a beautiful salvation that you don't believe if he told you it. Even when we do tell you it, you don't believe it. Habakkuk 1:6, for lo, meaning look, I raise up the Chaldeans, which are the Babylonians, the elites. That bitter and hasty nation, that's Esau, which shall march through the breadth of the land. Bitter meaning going back to America. Okay, America means bitter. Which shall march through the breadth of the land, and they're marching through other people's lands to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. Venezuela don't belong to him. They are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Let's see what this means. Habakkuk 1:7. I think it means, I forgot what it means. I forgot how to word it. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. So it's their dignity is like, let me read it. Habakkuk 1, this third description of the Babylon. Why is this not Habakkuk 1:7 meaning? What's going on here? Oh man, sometimes this AI shit, you ask it too many times, then it starts getting, it don't want to tell you anything anymore. All right, now I gotta go into the chat. Habakkuk is being shown who the Lord is raising up to judge Judah for their sins, the Chaldeans, Babylonians, modern day America. Verse 7 continues describing their nature as an instrument of judgment. So that's who the Lord is using. This is not praise, it's a warning. Phrase breakdown: they are terrible and dreadful. This describes the fear and terror the Babylonians would strike into nations. And that's why they blew up all those things that they were blowing up. They were known for cruel warfare, mass destruction, and psychological terror. And while they were making all this, distraction over here, they were in this dude's house. The Lord is emphasizing that this judgment will be severe, not light discipline. Their judgment shall proceed in themselves, meaning they set their own rules. And that's what we see when we just found out that he didn't even use the Constitution. He didn't go through the proper channels, I should say, like going through the I forgot the word. He didn't ask anybody to do it. He took it upon himself. So it can't just fall on him. It's showing a huge flaw because, when you start looking at it, all right, whose fault is it? When Mr. Head Chef supposedly struck a boat twice, he kind of deflected, and then the duck deflected, Head Chef deflected, and then somebody in the military deflected, and then it just went away like it never even happened. Then he used a bunch of propaganda, and now we don't really hear anything about that. Meanwhile, there was other strikes after the fact. So it's like when judgment don't go up, you just continue to do it. Babylon did not answer to any higher moral law. They judged by their own standards, and that's what he does. That's what Esau does. This reflects lawlessness and pride. That's Esau. In their dignity shall proceed of themselves. They exalted themselves. No divine fear, no humility. They believed their power made them righteous, right? Meaning their military power made them righteous. Like it says in Wisdom of Solomon, the 2nd chapter. They live by the law of justice. Because they think any other way is it's futile. So there's nothing nobody can do to me, so I can get away with it. Who's going to bring me to court like I'm doing to you? Oh, man. Just do whatever the hell I want. And he don't even need to hide it anymore. He'll just go up in there and just take your shit. He ain't got to use. Esau's so proud. This is why Esau's even more proud than he's ever been, because he's not even hiding it. So he's gonna come get you, and he don't give a fuck what you think about him, who I didn't consult or whatever. And then he'll get on the news tomorrow and tell you he want to go take over Greenland next, and Cuba, and Colombia. And some of the people are happy about it, and Iran too. Toward Iran, I think the I forgot what they call him, the supreme leader. They said he might have left Iran. Who knows? Prophetic meaning. The verse shows a pattern the Most High uses. He raises up a wicked nation to punish another wicked nation. And you Venezuelans are wicked. Why? Because you can just watch the news. You're in the harlot houses. You're over here doing the same shit you're doing over there, and you wonder why these things are happening to you. The nation is later judged for its pride and cruelty. Babylon is a tool, not a righteous nation. And that's right. There's a little bit more. Habakkuk 1:8. Their horses are swifter than the leopards. So their horses are swifter than the leopards. That's going into their military capability. Okay, they're swift, they're fast, they swoop in, do what they got to do, and they're out. And are more fierce than the evening wolves. And their horsemen shall spread themselves, and their horsemen shall come from far. They shall fly as the eagle that hasteth to eat. And that's what they did with Maduro. Swooped in, grabbed him up, and were out of there. He was in court today. They shall come all for violence. Their faces shall sup up the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as the sand. And that's what they did with Maduro and his wife. Gathered them up. Habakkuk 1:9 describes the ruthless Babylonian army, God's instrument of judgment against Judah, but in this case, it's Ephraim, ultimately Israel, coming with overwhelming force for plunder. Let's look at this word, plunder. Steal goods from a place or person, typically using force and in a time of war or civil disorder. And that's what he did. Their faces set on violence, that's Esau, sweeping people away like an unstoppable scorching desert wind and gathering captives as numerous as sand. And he gathered up Maduro. It signifies that the invaders were utterly determined for conquest, using cruelty to take people and wealth, highlighting God's use of harsh nations to discipline his own people for their sins, though those nations are also held accountable. So Esau's going to be held accountable for what he did too. And they shall scoff at the kings, and the princes shall be a scorn unto them. They shall deride every stronghold, for they shall heap dust and take it. And that's what they did with the Asherite. Habakkuk 1:10 describes the arrogant power of the Babylonian army, Chaldeans, as they conquer nations, scoffing at kings, mocking rulers, and easily taking fortresses by building siege ramps or dust earth to scale walls, highlighting their utter contempt for earthly authority and defenses, and serving as a warning about the dangers of pride and reliance on human strength, all within God's plan for judgment. Habakkuk 1:11, then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing this his power unto his God. Yeah, and that's what he does. He imputes not to the God of the Heavenly Father his false gods. Habakkuk 1:11 describes the Babylonians as a terrifying, swift, self-defying force God uses to judge Judah, explaining they sweep through like the wind, taking nations captive, but their guilt lies in making their own strength their God, which is their military, which is ultimately his sword, leading to their own eventual judgment despite their seemingly invincibility. This verse shows God's sovereignty in using wicked nations for his purposes, while also revealing their inherent sin of pride and self-worship, contrasting earthly power with divine authority. And he's going to know when it turns around on him. That's pretty much it on that.
You can see in the video what appears to be small arms return fire or an RPG streaking wildly through the sky. A U.S. helicopter was struck during the operation, President Trump saying pilots were injured and bleeding, but continued the mission. Inside the compound, the Army's elite Delta Force team moving in. They had built an exact replica of Maduro's compound and practiced the raid for months. A covert CIA team tracking Maduro's every move right down to what he ate. Secretary Pete Hegseth today saying Maduro and his wife unaware of what was happening until minutes before.
Nicolas Maduro got to meet some great Americans where a night vision got 3 nights ago. He didn't know they were coming until 3 minutes before they arrived. In fact, his wife said, I think I hear aircraft outside.
Those special operations forces coming under.
His wife said, I think I hear aircraft outside. So he got some spies around him, man. But you gotta watch out. Esau got some tech now. He probably sent a little bug in your house, man. It's a damn camera. It's like Esau, I'm telling you, man. He got it all, man. He watched you through your TV, through your cell phone, through your Wi-Fi. He has everything. He got spies all over the place, agents. He got everybody watching. He got everyone paid off. But even all of that ain't gonna work, man. You're gonna be destroyed. So have fun.
Heavy gunfire by Maduro's security, grabbing Maduro and his wife as they headed for a safe room moments before they could close a steel door behind them.
You didn't want to go into the strong tower, man?
Place is all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast.
Cuba saying 32 Cubans were killed before U.S. forces rushed Maduro and his wife into the helicopters, flying them out to a ship at sea.
32 Cubans were killed. Cubans? Hold on. I'm sorry.
Behind them.
The safe place is all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast.
Cuba saying 32 Cubans were killed before U.S. forces rushed Maduro and his wife into the helicopters, flying them out to a ship at sea.
Gee, that's what she said. 32 Cubans were killed. So, I'm confused. So he had Cubans watching over him?
Some 200 U.S. forces took part in the operation. The extraction team on the ground only a short time, with no U.S. lives lost. And David, we have learned several of the U.S. wounded were taken to Brooke Army Medical Center in Texas. None of their injuries life-threatening, but these dramatic images and the return fire aiming at the U.S. helicopters are a reminder of just how risky this mission was. David?
Arthur Raddatz.
All right. And that's that. What else I got?
Military carried out.
Oh shit, Israel strikes Lebanon. Hezbollah Hamas targets hit in Al-Manara.
The Israeli military carried out strikes on southern and eastern Lebanon, targeting what it described as Hezbollah and Hamas positions in 4 villages. Take a look. The attacks were carried out shortly after evacuation warnings were issued to residents in the affected areas. Video footage showed thick smoke blowing into the night sky after an Israeli airstrike hit the southern Lebanese town of Anan. Now, Lebanon state media also reported that a strike on Al-Manara in eastern Lebanon completely destroyed a house and caused extensive damage to nearby homes, vehicles and commercial buildings. The report said the targeted house belonged to a Hamas leader in Lebanon who was killed by Israel in 2024. Israel and Lebanon reached a US-mediated ceasefire in 2024, ending more than a year of clashes between Israel and Hezbollah that culminated in Israeli attacks, significantly weakening the Iran-backed group. However, despite a ceasefire in place, Israel continues to carry out regular strikes in Lebanon, claiming it is targeting Hezbollah facilities and Hamas-linked sites. Lebanon's health ministry said 2 people were killed on Sunday when an Israeli strike hit a vehicle about 10 kilometers from the border.
Sounds like more war. More wars, man. What's this new era for Venezuela?
As Nicolas Maduro sits in U.S. custody in New York City, Venezuelan Americans across the country reacting to the news of his capture. A mix of joy, celebration, and uncertainty.
Everybody's happy, music, celebration, but it's a lot of questions.
It's a lot of questions. What the hell you think's gonna happen? First of all, let me grab this in the book of Deuteronomy, the 17th chapter. Deuteronomy 17 and 15, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. And that's what y'all are rejoicing over. Someone that's not your brother. You want Esau to rule over you. But just like in 1 Kings chapter 13. It says, is it 13? Let me see, might be 14. When he told them that forgot. It might be 12. As a matter of fact, let me start at 12. 1 Kings 12 in verse number 10. 12 and 9. And he said unto them, oh no, let me start up. We'll just start at 1. 1 Kings 12 and 1. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel will come to Shechem to make him king. And it came to pass when Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who was yet in Egypt, heard of it, for he was fled from the presence of King Solomon, and Jeroboam dwelt in Egypt. So Jeroboam was hid in Egypt until Solomon died, and he came back. He's talking to Rehoboam, which is Solomon's son, because he's the new king over Jerusalem. That they sent and called him, and Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, Thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father, and his heavy yoke which he put upon us lighter, and we will serve thee. And that's the same type of mindset you Northern Kingdomers have today. You think he's gonna make the yoke, your yoke lighter. And he said unto them, Depart yet for 3 days, then come again to me. And the people departed. And King Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father while he yet lived, and said, How do ye advise that I may answer this people? And they spake unto him, saying, If thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and will serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever. But Esau's not going to do what the elders told him to do. He ain't going to serve you, and he going to speak good words to you. Then they will be thy servants forever. But Esau's not here to do that. Matter of fact, Psalms 50 goes into his speech. Psalms 50. No, not 6. Psalms 50. And no, that ain't it. I gotta grab it. It might be 51. The enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips. KJV. It's Ecclesiasticus. Yeah, Ecclesiasticus 12 verse 16. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. So pretty much what he's going to do to you is what he did to Africa. You got all this abundance. He going to make you poor and take all your resources and make it come over here to America while you suffer. Just like those Africans are. He going to put you in slavery. And that's what you're rejoicing about. Then you got stupid ass Venezuelans up here happy. Oh, I want to go to the beach and go. Okay. You're going to be destroyed.
Why are people here so excited?
We are celebrating freedom and liberty. Thanks to President Trump, we were able to gain our freedom back.
My wife hasn't been able to go home since she was a kid. My kids have never gone to Venezuela, so this is huge.
For so many in South Florida, the first place they called
y'all gonna go over there and get kidnapped and killed.
Home was Venezuela.
For me, it means maybe the possibility of going back to my country, seeing, the oceans that I never got to see in, that I haven't gotten to play in since I was young, seeing my family that I haven't gotten to hug in such a long time.
At Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in Doral, a special hour of prayer.
The Lady of Guadalupe, where's that in the Bible?
Parishioners showing up draped in flags from their country hundreds of miles away.
What did you pray for?
I pray for the freedom of Venezuela, my country, my home country. I live here from 26 years. My family is still there.
And are you're hopeful that this could be the beginning of a new era for Venezuela?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I think probably this is the new era for Venezuela.
Leading that service, Father Israel Mago, who was born in Caracas.
Just look at Israel. His name is Israel. And he got all these altars in there. These paganistic altars all in the temple. He got the fake nativity of Yahweh Shai. He following fully over to Esau. And he wondered, and you saw what he didn't care, y'all were Catholics. Some of Esau's laws, Maduro's laws were way more righteous than Esau. Maduro wasn't charging you usury. Esau gonna charge you usury, believe that. Your usury is gonna be high. You about to feel it, man.
Talk to me about what the feeling is here for Venezuela.
Well, it's a feeling of joy and especially of hope.
Hope amid uncertainty in an unprecedented moment.
We have to keep praying because God is the one who has the last word in everything.
Yeah, you're right about that. You still wicked as hell. I'm gonna keep reading this. 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 8. But he forsook the counsel of the old men, talking about Rehoboam, which they had given him, and consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, and which stood before him. And he said unto them, what counsel give ye, that we may enter this people, who have spoken to me, saying, make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter? And that's what y'all think. You think Esau's going to put upon you a lighter yoke. He's going to treat you fairly or something. You must be out of your damn mind. 1 Kings 12 and 10. And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, thus shalt thou speak unto this people that speak unto thee, saying, thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it lighter unto us. Thus shalt thou say unto them, my little finger shall be thicker than my father's loins. So his little finger, he said it now. Let me look this up. My little finger shall be thicker than my... This is the YN, and that's what Esau is. He's a YN. The phrase, my little finger is thicker than my father's loins, or waist thigh, is foolish, arrogant advice given to the new king Rehoboam by his young, inexperienced friends, signifying he would be much harsher than his father Solomon. So the same thing, the duck is going to be more harsher than Maduro, an act that ultimately led to the division of Israel as the people rebelled against his tyrannical intent to increase their burdens, not lighten them. It was a boast meant to show strength, but revealed immaturity and a desire for oppressive power, setting the stage for national disaster. And that's what's going to happen to you. You're going to have a national disaster. You're going to have instability because the previous government is going to, they're still there. He still has people that are loyal to him. 1 Kings 12 and 11, and now, whereas my father did lay you with a heavy yoke, I will add to your yoke. My father have chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. And that's what the duck's going to do. He's going to chastise you with scorpions. I'm going to look this up. It's a lot. See what it says. Signifies King Rehoboam's arrogant rejection of his people's plea for lighter burdens, promising to intensify Solomon's heavy taxation, enforce labor with even harsher discipline symbolized as scorpions instead of whips, leading directly to the division of the United Israelite Kingdom into two separate nations, Israel and Judah. This passage highlights poor leadership, pride, and the catastrophic consequences of ignoring wise counsel, contrasting with Yahweh Shah HaMashiach's gentle leadership. Well, it means you about to be oppressed even more than your previous ruler. Let me grab this in the book of Isaiah 14. No, Isaiah 19. It tells you, he that is evil to himself, to whom can he do good? Isaiah 19:4. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. So if he's a cruel lord to his own people, what the hell you think he gonna do to you? You ain't his people. He looks at you as a foreign. He's already been killing y'all. And if he sends these Americans that got these flags over here, they're gonna raise, everything's gonna cost more when they go over there and wanna go on vacation and shit like that. So you poor people, how you gonna survive? And they might even move back to Venezuela when he sets up this puppet government. Set up a lot of westernized heathen over there and put them into your land and displace you, just like the Assyrians did to your kingdom. When you read the book of 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, or 2 Kings. No, it's 1 Kings. 1 Kings 17. When Jeroboam, when the southern kingdom got kicked out of their land. That's what's happening to you again in real time. You being gentrified, and the only people that are going to be there are some weak-ass Venezuelans from America who are just demons. They're demons, man. They're not going to care about nothing. They're going to come with a westernized mindset and pretty much destroy your country. That's what they're going to do. Everything's going to cost more. It's going to be unrecognizable. But don't worry, the Lord ain't going to be dealing with that too long. He's going to destroy their asses too. Because they're wicked. All right. Let me grab this in the book of Hosea. Am I done with this? Let me finish this. 1 Kings 12, verse 12. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king appointed, saying, Come to me again the third day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from the Lord, that he might perform his saying, which the Lord spake by Ahijah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat, meaning he was going to rend the kingdom, like he did. I wanted to grab this. This says, Kathy Hochul boasts 27 million fewer cars over 1 year entering NYC's congestion pricing zone. I want to see what this is talking about.
Being stuck.
Hold on, let me.
Talk to everybody. You know that. We said, enough with gridlock. It must end. Enough with emergency vehicles being stuck in traffic. That must end. Enough with wasting people's valuable time away from their families and their jobs and everything else they want to do in New York. Just have a good time. And enough with polluting our air with all the emissions. And enough with underfunding the transit system that is the lifeline of this entire region. So we got it done. We changed how people in this great city and the region live, how they breathe, how they act. And now the results are in. Traffic entering the congestion zone is down 11%. And this is incredible. 27 million fewer cars going into that zone over the last year. 27 million. And the air is cleaner. Pollution is down more than 20% in 1 year. People with asthma are breathing better. Little kids don't have to worry about this. And our streets are safer. New York City recorded its safest streets in history. That's a long time. With
I don't know what she's talking about. So it sounds like she made some type of zone. Let me just see what this is talking about. I thought they were going to remove cars. See, ma'am Donnie. Monday marks 1 year since the congestion pricing cameras turned on and began charging drivers a $9 base toll to enter Manhattan below 60. So a $9, I got it. Oh my God. Congestion pricing. 27 million fewer vehicles entered Manhattan's central business district in first year of toll program, MTA says. 12 months later, it says, Monday marks 1 year since the congestion pricing cameras turned on and began charging drivers $9 base to toll to enter Manhattan below 60th Street during peak hours. 12 months later, state officials are touting data that shows the program is accomplishing its goal of cutting vehicle traffic in Manhattan's central businesses district. The MTA newly reported Monday that there were 27 million, an average of 11% fewer vehicles entering the CBD in congestion pricing first year. That breaks down to roughly 73,000 fewer vehicles a day. MTA spokesperson Joanna Flores confirmed the number first reported by the New York Times and Hellgate to an New York. Governor Kathy Hochul, who once paused congestion pricing for several months in 2024 before ultimately agreeing to activate it, celebrated its success during a Monday afternoon press conference along MTA chair and CEO Jano Lieber and newly minted Mayor Zohran Mamdani. The results are extraordinary beyond what we could have expected, Hochul said of congestion pricing on Monday. And to any naysayers out there, tell me who they are and we'll have a conversation. I'll meet you at my local diner. She added, referencing the restaurant she said drove her decision to pause the program start in 2024. So, I mean, it all sounds good, but we know this is the wicked we're talking about, man. So, if he creates more tolls, you know, you're not going to go in those areas because you really can't afford it. $9 to go into Manhattan, man, would make you think differently. It make you want to get on a train at that point. But a lot of people can't afford $9 to get into a space. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's just being shown that, you know what, it worked here. Why don't we implement it over there? If you want to help regulate traffic, because there are a lot of different cars and things like that. But ultimately, you know, it tells you in second there, just the 15th chapter, a man shall want to go in the city and shall not be able. So I can see that happening too. You know, that's talking about Jacob's trouble, but, you know, everything's leading up to that. Second there, just 15. And 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed and mentioned. But this is really talking about like military checkpoints. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So we're still coming to that time where, you know, for the lack of bread, where you're not gonna, you know, people are gonna be fighting over resources, man. People ain't gonna have money to pay for the common things that they have today. It's gonna get tougher and tougher if they start increasing bills on certain things, man. It's gonna be hard to maneuver. But all of that shit's gonna be cut off. It ain't gonna be no work for Egypt according to Isaiah the 19th chapter. And what are you gonna do then? and they're clearly already making it hard. What's this U.S. Greenland dispute after Venezuela? Is Greenland Trump's next target? Greenland warns Trump.
President Donald Trump has reiterated his claims of wanting to take over Greenland and make it a part of United States. This comes after Denmark's Prime Minister urged Trump to stop the threats to annex the semi-autonomous Danish territory. Now, speaking to the press, the US President said, quote unquote, "We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security." In the past, Trump has repeatedly raised the prospect of Greenland becoming an annexed part of the United States. He cited Greenland's strategic location for defense purposes and mineral wealth. Trump's renewed claims to take over Greenland comes just days after U.S. Special Forces captured Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife from the capital, Caracas. He first expressed his interest in buying the island from Denmark in 2019, but was rebuffed. In a press conference, Greenland's Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen said that the notion of American control over the island is nothing but a fantasy. Furthermore, Nielsen has called for renewed talks with the US and urged against panic after Trump's threats.
I believe that President Trump's comments constitute threats toward the Danes and our society. This is not something we appreciate. It is not acceptable in the civilized world, in fact.
Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said that Trump's desires to acquire Greenland must be taken seriously. Frederiksen also cautioned against the fact that if Trump were to attack the Danish island of Greenland, it would mean the end of the NATO alliance.
Firstly, I believe that the American president should be taken seriously when he says that he wants Greenland. But I also want to make it clear that if the United States chooses to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything stops. That is, including our NATO, and thus the security that has been provided since the end of the Second World War.
I gotta grab it. Revelation 17 and verse 14. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. The Lamb is Yahushua, and the them is these different militaries. For he is the Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And that's talking about the chariots, because Yahweh is going to empty the whole host of heaven, and they're going to fight up against Yahushua. But he's going to destroy them. Victory for the Lamb. Revelation 17 and 15, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the horse sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So the waters is talking about the different people that are here in Babylon, America, where the horse sitteth. Okay. And the 10 horns, which is the European Union, which thou sawest upon the beast, which is NATO and the EU. These shall hate the whore, which is America. And that's just like she said, if he does something to destroy that bond, which that's prophecy being fulfilled, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So that's NATO and the EU deciding to burn America with fire. That's the precept. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And so they're in agreement for a short time, but then the Lord's gonna make them go to war. And these different disagreements that they're having are signs that the miry clay and the miry clay and the iron, it's not working together, like it tells you in Daniel. Revelation 17:18, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which is talking about America, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So, they're complaining about something. They know he runs this. They just vassal states of America. They just want to make it seem like they got some authority or some say, so the people can feel like they have some sovereignty, but it's really it says the whore that sitteth upon the beast. Okay, the beast ain't sitting on the whore. I think I wanted to go to the book of Daniel, chapter 2, where it talks about the miry clay. Yep, Daniel 2 and 40. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. And it's talking about Rome. I don't think it always used to say Rome. But Daniel 2 verse 41, and whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with the miry clay. So the iron represents America, and the miry clay represents pretty much the NATO and the EU, or these European nations, these vassal states. And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the dissimilar metals disagreeing with each other when it comes to political, geographical, military, military, geopolitically, and economically. When it comes to these major areas, they're not like 100%. They're disagreeing with each other. You would think they would be one when it came to setting up a defense against their common enemy, but it's not the case, because the Europeans also have dealings with the Russians too. Daniel 2 verse 43, and whereas thou sawest iron mixed with the miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Let's look this up. Daniel 2 and 43 means that the final world empire, symbolized by the statues iron and miry clay feet, will be a mix of strong iron and weak clay, elements that attempt to unite through intermarriage or alliances, but ultimately fail to cohere, representing a divided, unstable kingdom that tries to blend ruling power with common people or separate nations, but cannot truly merge. And that's what we're seeing with America and NATO and the EU. This mixture signifies a fragile, fragmented system destined to be replaced by God's eternal kingdom, and described in Daniel 2. Let's finish that on that, as a matter of fact, the divine kingdom. Daniel 2 verse 44, and in those days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, meaning the heathen nations, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So it's talking about Yahweh Shai's reign. Ultimately, Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Yahweh Shai is the beginning of the end of Esau's world. Daniel 2 verse 45, for as much as thou sawest the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that's that stone. That's Yahweh Shai. In that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, and the silver, and the gold, the great God had made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. So the stone is gonna, just like it did to Goliath, and it sunk into his head, it said. That's also representative of, just like it says in Zechariah, the 9th chapter that I read earlier. It said that they'll be slinging stones, man. And that's what we do in the house of David. We ultimately trusted in Yahweh Shai, and he's going to give us the victory. But let me grab this in 1 Samuel. And David kills Goliath. And I'll start at 40. 1 Samuel 17 and 40. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had even in a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. When the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy and of fair countenance. And that's not what I'm looking for. Let me jump down. I'll keep reading. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield. But I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand, and I will smite thee and take thine head from thee. And I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And that's what the Lord's going to do with our enemies. 1 Samuel 17 and 48. And it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hasted and ran toward the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So that's how Yahushua is going to take out Esau. He going to smite the head, man. And then the rest of the nations are going to fall in place. 1 Samuel 17 and 50. So David prevailed over the Philistine with the sling and with the stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. So he didn't get delivered by a sword. Okay. He got delivered by the stone. Ultimately, it was the Lord guiding that stone to hit the Philistine in his forehead and make it sink inside of his head. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof and slew him. So the Philistine died he got decapitated by his own sword and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. So there you go. And that's the same thing that's going to happen. You're going to put the fear. The fear is going to fall upon those who followed him.